Okay, this is Trophy Gold, the Huntsman's Manor. This is a continuation of a Trophy Gold series that we did earlier, but we are presenting this as a brand new entry point for anybody who's watching the series, who wants to just kind of dive right in. This is a good place to start. So, although you will find it more enriching if you have seen the previous material. This incursion that we're doing is part of the Trophy Gold book, which will be available to pre-order hopefully very soon. And once we have that pre-order link, we will put that in the show notes for you in case you want to go pick up the book yourself if you didn't get it on the Kickstarter. I want to begin by having all of us introduce ourselves. When I call on you, please say your name, your pronouns, and if there's anything else you'd like for us to know about you, your experience in gaming, your experience with Trophy specifically, anything at all really, social media handle if you wish. Go ahead and share that as well if you want. I'll start. My name is Jason. I use he, him, and I am I'm the founder of the Gauntlet gaming community, and I'm the publisher of this game. I'm going to go over to Brian.
I'm Brian Sago. I use the pronoun he, and I'm an artist. That's some of my art hanging on the wall behind me.
Thank you. Let's go to Blaine.
Hello, I'm Blaine. Pronouns he, him. Don't really have anything special to share aside from that.
Fair enough. And Drew.
Hi, I'm Drew. I use he, him. I'm pretty new to all this and excited to be here.
Awesome, thank you so much. I'm going to begin by introducing the game with a procedure called CATS. CATS is an acronym that stands for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. I do this in order to establish a basic set of expectations for what we're going to be doing today and ongoing. So the concept of Trophy Gold is a game about desperate treasure hunters going into the dark and forgotten places of the world in order to retrieve valuable antiquities and other treasures that they can take back to town and sell because they're poor and they have a very expensive life goal called the drive that they want to accomplish. It is a game that is much more in the traditional fantasy adventure mode as compared to the companion game Trophy Dark. But it is, unlike, say, Dungeons and Dragons, I wouldn't characterize it as heroic. I wouldn't characterize it as necessarily high fantasy, or definitely not like high adventure. That's not the right way of thinking about it. It's much more perilous, a little more grim, quite a bit more desperate feeling. The incursion that we're playing is called the Huntsman's Manor. It is by our friend Natalie Ash. And I don't want to say too much about it, except to say, like I said before, it is one of the core incursions for Trophy Gold that's going to be in the book. The aim of today is we're going to introduce the characters, reintroduce the returning characters, and introduce Drew's brand new character joining us. And then I'm going to go over one really important sort of rules point that you need to be aware of before we start. And then we'll begin play. The tone of the game is fairly dark. I think there's obviously space for levity, but do your best to maintain a dark, serious tone. And in terms of subject matter, I think this incursion, I think the two sort of like things that might come up are violence against not all animals, but specifically wolves. So I don't know if that's a thing for you. Maybe let us know. And also cannibalism is a thing that might come up as well. So I'm going to highlight those things. I want to say that we're going to be doing 3 different safety tools. The first is the X card, the second is the open door policy, and the third is lines and veils. The X card, the way we use that is if something happens in the game that you are not happy with for whatever reason, honestly, either because it's maybe triggering material or it just fundamentally clashes with your idea of how the story should be going, you can exit out, and you can do that by either saying X card or typing it in the chat. I might ask for clarification on what is being X carded, but I won't ask why is it being X carded. we're also going to have the open door policy. You could just leave. There's nothing stopping you from leaving. We won't judge anyone if you just are not having a good time, or if you just have to go for any reason. You could just say, hey, I have to head out, and then just go. And then lines and veils, that's my major preferred safety tool. Lines are things that we just don't want to have in the story period, off screen or on screen. We just don't want to do it. And then veils are things that we're okay with being on or in the story, but we just prefer not to role play it or see it on screen. I will say my lines and veils, and then I will give you all a few moments to, if you want to say them on the call, you can, or if you want to message me on chat or Discord, I will relay it to the group. So my main line that I don't like to do is sexual violence. I don't want any sexual violence in the game. It's just not a theme I prefer to, or a topic I prefer to do in the gaming. So none of that. And for veils, I am going to put torture behind a veil. I'm okay with torture being a thing. I just prefer not to role play it. I'm also going to put violence against children behind a veil. I'm okay with it being a thing. I just prefer not to role play that. So those are my lines and veils. I will wait about 30 seconds for you all to say something. Otherwise, I'll keep my eyes on the chat, on Discord and chat.
Mine are pretty much the same as yours, Jason.
Yes, same. And I'm fine with violence against wolves, but if there's wolf puppies, we might want to veil that.
There won't be, but thank you.
I'm good with what's been established.
Great. And so let's go ahead and introduce characters. I'm going to start with the returning characters. And I also mentioned for people who've been following the series, we don't have Jen for a couple of weeks. And so we will catch up with her character, say, when we have her back. But Brian, go ahead and tell us about Corkuluk up to this point. What's going on?
Right. Corkuluk is an orphaned mannequin, a construct that's part porcelain, part twigs, part vines. Wears a little porcelain colander for a helmet and a braided corn husk gambeson. Is a little obsessed over the fragility of porcelain parts of his body and is seeking to find a descendant of his creator, Mashiko. Mashiko passed away, and in sort of the burial ritual of disposing of her body, realized how fragile his own body was and that he has no way to repair it. So that's his drive, is to find a descendant so he can have sort of backup parts.
Wonderful, thank you. Blaine, tell us about Diane, please.
Okay, Diane is a hedge uninspired artisan, or his occupation and background. He's basically like a not middle-aged, but a 30-year-old dude that's was forced to retire from being a craftsman when he fell afoul of the Witch of Nefask, who cursed him to never craft anything that lasts. And since then, he has been studying magic and ritual in an attempt to undo that curse, and has yet been unsuccessful.
Wonderful, thank you. And now, Drew, I'm going to have you introduce Osto. If you will please tell us all the things you had to pick, and specifically, I want to know what your skills are as well. I want to know what your rituals that you've chosen are, and what you have in your backpack. So kind of the rundown of your character here.
Okay, I'll be playing Osto. He is an ox and a cured beast bitten. And he's coming into the adventure with the ward ritual and carrying a grappling hook, 120 feet. I'm sorry, I'm Canadian. Is that feet? Okay, feet of rope,
feet.
And a spyglass.
It's actually a huge amount of rope to be carrying around, but I like it. But you were an ox, so I guess you're probably I'm imagining you as a fairly big person. Is that fair?
Sometimes.
Ah, interesting. You're a cured beast bitten. How interesting. What is the beast? Do you know that yet, or do you want to reveal that yet?
I'm thinking bear.
Oh, I like that. Okay, good. Great. Cured beast bittens are interesting. Do you does the fact that you're cured mean you can no longer change into a bear, or does it mean you can control if you change into a bear? What does it mean to be cured?
I took it that he can transform kind of partial bear transformation, kind of a werebear kind of thing.
Yeah, like that.
And that's the cure part. He doesn't turn without permission, I guess.
So there's no like trigger, like it's not like under a baleful moon or something like that, right? Like you can just kind of transform as you wish at will.
I'm thinking he's a little bit like a fantasy Incredible Hulk. When he gets angry, he
good.
turns.
Okay, I like that. Great. And what's your drive?
He is trying to get enough money to buy his brother's freedom from Barstool Prison.
Barstool Prison, not a good place. Good. We'll talk about that more as we go. Yeah, that's great. Your occupation as an ox. I think we should define what that means in our version of the setting here. It gives you the skills destruction, persistence, and strength, but those are all fairly, they don't necessarily hint at a specific thing. What do you think it means to be an ox as your job here?
I think he's been kind of taking a bunch of little jobs, like a bodyguard here and there, kind of construction here and there, wherever he's needed and can make a bit of gold, he'll do it.
And since you're familiar with the series that came before this, how do you suspect you got involved with this group? Like, any ideas? And I'll take suggestions from the rest of the players as well for that.
I'm open to suggestion. Yeah. One thing I did think about was maybe he knows the or visits the apothecary that Blaine's staying at.
Oh, good. So that might be a connection for you and Diane. I like that. Yeah, Blaine, are you cool with that?
Yeah, that's fun. That's fine.
So is it possible that Diane, like, theoretically hired you, or at least like invited you to be some muscle? Is that the idea? Because Diane did you get beat up last time with the yellow humored lurkers, or did you? I mean, you came out of it okay, but like,
yeah, I came out of it okay. I think I spent my armor, which I had to refresh.
Right, yeah. I'm just curious if it's like one of those things of like, okay, we're getting ready to go out back into the forest, so maybe it would be nice to have just like a big tough guy, because these two are not big tough guys. So it might be a thing.
Yeah, I think like there's a moment where like he's at the apothecary for whatever reason, and like he's grumbling about how much money he has to spend on the herbs or whatever, and so like that twigs down like, oh, you want to make some money.
Right, yeah, good. I mean, I think keeping it like just a simple framing is probably pretty good. Okay, and there may be more to it, but I think it's a good jumping off point. Let's talk about a little bit about the rules. Just a couple things I want to highlight. The rules, just to sort of refresh everyone. The pièce de résistance of this game is Devil's Bargain. It is what makes the story go. I want to encourage you all to really, especially Blaine and Brian, now that you've had some sessions, I want to encourage you all to really think about ways that you can use the Devil's Bargain to really twist the story in directions that no one saw coming, or alternatively in ways that call back to things that we've already established in the fiction. I think now is the time to sort of raise our game a little bit when it comes to the Devil's Bargain. It's not that we were doing poorly before, but I'm all about constant raising of the bar. So I think it would be a good thing to do. I know I'm going to. So I just want to encourage you all to do that. And then I really want to encourage you all this go around to really think about, let's see how I'm going to characterize this. No, never mind. I'm going to retract that because I don't want to put any kind of like, I don't want to put my thumb on the scale of like how you play. But I do think I really am very, very interested in finding ways as a group to reincorporate the ideas and themes and characters of the previous series so that we can create this connected narrative. Just something for us to kind of keep in mind. Now, for people who are, I've already discussed this with the players, but for people who are watching the video, we had ended the last session on something of a cliffhanger with Korkaluk meeting a woman in a basement made of beetles and bugs, or controls beetles and bugs. It was a little unclear, but she wears a porcelain mask. She caused a bodyguard or a guard to be consumed by the bugs. And we know that Korkaluk has fallen in love with her. Those are all things that we know to be true. And also, Rasay encountered an old enemy, Granth, and they were getting ready to square off. But we're actually going to leave that part of the narrative hanging a little bit. Those things resolve themselves in some way, but we're not going to see it yet. We might see it in flashback. We might not. We might pick up on those threads when the characters get back to Fort Durin. Today, we're going to be starting a brand new incursion, Huntsman's Manor. So with all that said, that was a lot of talking on my part, but we got through it. Let's begin the Huntsman's Manor. And we start with a poem. A light, the huntsman calls. With sun already set, the quarry springs as twilight falls. A trophy now to get. The moon above shines o'er the hunt, and hot breath fogs the air. The master surges to the front. The trophy now is there. As hot blood runs and soaks the ground, and hunger now's been paid, the pack to which you have been bound, a trophy you've been made. Now, the politically unremarkable Marquess Niral was a hunting prodigy, building his hunting manor on the edges of the forest to hunt the most challenging prey. After his disappearance over a century ago, the manor was abandoned and left to the forest. But what amazing treasures and trophies still remain? Well, hopefully you're going to find out. Now, while the Marquess Niral was unremarkable in political influence, he was highly regarded in his skills as a hunter. People considered it the height of folly for him to build his manor so close to the old Caldor forest as he did. But he would only laugh and say, well, he just built it where the prey was, right? And for a few years, he held these grand hunting meets, taking friend and foe to play at the edge of the dark woods. The thrill of that proved the story of a lifetime to many guests. And his own travels to the forest became, as he got deeper towards the forest's heart, and they got longer and longer every time he went in, right? And when his final hunt left the manor ungoverned for an entire year, the servants turned to other masters and the lodge was left unoccupied. And for the last century of its existence, it has laid empty. The manor's proximity to the old Caldor forest dissuades most scavengers, and the belief is there are, at the manor, beyond the rusted, fallen, heavy iron gates, there is treasure in general, but also a very specific treasure. And I would like for Drew, roll me a d6 real quick. You have one handy.
It's a 6.
Thank you. The servants of the manor, after they left, told people that the Marquess took notes on the creatures he encountered and slew within the forest of Old Caldor. This bestiary would be among the best resources for those venturing within the forest borders. This bestiary is a fabulously valuable treasure precisely because of the information that it is alleged to contain. And in Fort Durin, which is the staging ground for so many incursions into the Old Caldor, it would be I mean, it would be, I don't want to say priceless, but it would definitely be extremely valuable. And if you got your hands on it, that would really be something. So let's just get right up to it. The first set is called the Overgrown Gardens. The set goal is to enter the manor. Now, these once formal gardens, decorated with raised flower beds and topiaries, have become completely overgrown. Doesn't this sound familiar a little bit? There was a history 100 years ago. Things are overgrown now. We like our old abandoned things and trophy. Most of the flowers and the trees and the path have become choked thick with blackberry brambles. And as you are there in the, you've kind of arrived, gone just inside the rusted gate, you'll see a few things. Directly ahead of you, you will see what appears to be several large wolves eating from some fresh kill that they've managed to get their jaws on. Beyond them is the manor house itself. A little to the left, there is a greenhouse. And then a little further to the right, kind of like in a separate yard area or field area, is a hedge maze. So you have some wolves with a kill, you have a greenhouse, you have this hedge maze, and you have the manor itself. Your goal is to get inside the manor. I'll remind you that you can do that by just physically getting inside the manor, or via your character actions, or you can spend tokens to get inside the manor. Everyone is at 0 tokens at this point, and we are going to do it. So, since you are joining us anew, Osto, what do you do?
So I figure Osto right now is in kind of his normal resting human form. And so he's kind of just hanging back. He's a younger guy, maybe 24, looks young, kind of acts young. But he's not afraid, but he's still a little wary. He's new at all this. So he's going to be hanging back a little bit. And when he sees the wolves, he kind of looks to the others to see, like, what are you thinking? Do we need to kill them? Like, do we need to do something here?
I think you're far enough away where if you want to have the conversation, you all can, by all means.
I think Diane would say, like, if they don't cause us trouble now, they might later and catch us unawares. It might be prudent to get it done with.
Yeah, and I'd like to know what they've actually killed. So,
Diane has a bear trap he could set and try and lure them into. That might be fun.
Osto kind of arches a brow.
I was say, how do you feel about bear traps, Osto?
Not a fan.
Indeed. Bear is another echo from the last series too, isn't it?
Yeah, there might be sort of like an interesting connection there, because as I recall, Kirklook has the breath of a bear, or
Kirklook had a spiritual bond with a bear, yes, near Hester's Mill.
I'm waiting for Osto to for me to witness a transformation, and I'm just going to become completely infatuated and be like, oh, how do you do that?
Well, this is all well and good. So what's your first move here?
Diane will try and we'll set the bear trap and like either spook them into it, or like see if he can like get them to, or at least one of them, if not.
No, I like it. Yeah, I can see where you're going with this. I think this is a risk roll. Drew and Brian, what could go wrong here if this goes poorly?
the wolves could be much more food guardy than anticipated and attack.
Yeah, I'm thinking that they are much smarter than you're giving them credit for, and just get around your trap easily and again, attack. Brian, what do you think? Any thoughts beyond those? I guess
Perhaps there are more wolves than this batch that we're witnessing.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'd say there's about like 3 wolves right now. So. Okay, so you're getting a die for the bear trap. That's easy enough. Devil's bargains. Devil's bargains are things that happen no matter what, whether the die roll fails or succeeds. I would like to suggest that no matter what, one of these wolves has your scent.
Tell me if this doesn't work, but what if these wolves know the hedge maze rather well, and even should we murder all of them, that there's another member of the pack that finds its way into the maze to pursue you.
So no matter what, they know the hedge maze very well like that. That's actually pretty good. Drew, do you have any offers? Or you could.
However, we use the bear trap. At the end of it, it is either jammed or otherwise broken.
It's good as well. So Blaine, what do you think?
I think I will take the first one, they have my scent.
I don't think you're necessarily risking your mind or body yet. So if you want to just roll 2 light dice, I think that's a good way to start. So on the die roller, you do.
Would that be 3 with the Devil's Bargain?
No, it's 1. You can 2 is the max you can ever get. So it's 1
so
for the
then
bear
I guess
trap.
I don't. Sorry, I was looking at the hunt roll, not the risk roll.
Yeah, 1 for the bear trap, 1 for the Devil's Bargain, and go ahead and roll that up. Okay. /risk 2.
Sorry, my Discord's being slow. That's a 4.
The complication is going to be, so you succeed. The complication is going to be you only catch 1 of the wolves. The other 2 get away, or will not be drawn in any case. You can, if you're cool with that, you can let that ride, or if you want to add a dark die, you can reroll all of that.
Yeah, I'll let that ride. I think it makes sense that you couldn't catch all the wolves with 1 bear trap.
Yeah, well, they won't even like they're just literally going to be gone. Like, so you just you just got like this 1 wolf that you can maybe deal with. Give me the scene. What does it look like?
Yeah, so I think like he starts by just setting the bear trap and like covering it with some brush that he can free from the surrounding area. There's all sorts of plants growing around, so like that manages to like obscure it visually, and then like creeps around on the other side and like does something to startle them, and that causes them to run off, and one of them goes right over the bear trap. The paw comes down and it snaps shut
and catches him. The other 2 go off in different directions, but you have this 1 wolf, and I think this is maybe like a little ways off the main courtyard, like maybe towards the hedge maze, and it's yelping, it's in pain. Corklick, what do you do?
If there are no objections, my thought is to put it out of its misery with an axe.
Osto, as you have a skill in transformation, and as you are a cured beast bitten yourself, how do you know that the wolf is beast bitten?
It's just kind of a sense that I can't really define. There's a familiarity and an understanding, and I couldn't see it from afar, but it's as I get closer that I can see it's not purely wolf, clearly.
And I think, so knowing that, what do you do? Especially if you see Corklet going for his axe.
I kind of hold my arm out and kind of bar him and say, hold on a sec, this isn't just a wolf.
Right. How do we make them revert to a resting human form, as you called it?
If he's cured, he should be able to do it at will. If he's not, beats me. I don't remember much from my time before.
The wolf looks up at you all and gives what I can only describe as a grin, a lupine grin. It's clearly in pain, but also it is determined to not look weak in front of you. And it mutters in a low voice, "That is certainly not a way to announce yourself, guests."
Osto kind of looks at the other two and goes, he has a point.
Some might even call it the height of rudeness.
Wolves aren't exactly known for their hospitality.
I'd like to peek at what they killed on the chance that this lets us know a little more about what we're negotiating with.
Yeah, do a hunt roll. That's still a little, I think you'd have to get a little closer maybe to get a good look at it, but I think a hunt roll is justified in any case because you're asking questions about the world. Any relevant skills or equipment?
Good question.
I have a spyglass.
We've got, I don't know what I'm looking at exactly, but obfuscation if something is sort of hidden, mimicry if it's sort of disguised as something other than itself.
That's possible.
If it's, the corpse of Little Red Riding Hood.
Right, yeah. If you're just going up to look, I think it's probably just a 1-die roll, to be honest. And you don't have any hunt roll tokens that you can lose anyway, so I might as well just roll 1. Go with that.
Ooh, a 1.
Good thing you didn't have any tokens to lose. But you do encounter something terrible. It is a man. It is opened up. Its rib cage, the man's rib cage is opened up in a way that I can only describe it as a cornucopia of viscera, guts, blood, meat dripping from bone, bloody paw prints all around. What do you do?
Any remnants of clothing that give a sense of the
Who they are. It's pretty rough spun type stuff. This is a traveler, grain peddler, peasant, nobody of importance.
feel like I might grab, a morsel of viscera and bring this over to our captured beast-bitten wolf and see if we can use this as sort of a negotiating, gruesome bargaining piece of, if you'll play nice, I'll give you a little bit of this to snack on, kind of help you ignore the pain of this bear trap while we talk for a moment.
He says, now why would I ever bargain for that tiny chunk of meat when there are 3 quite large pieces of meat standing before me?
Exactly. We are in deep.
I think at that, Osto kind of just snorts a little bit and crosses his arms, and with a bit of a concentration, he just kind of starts growing. His clothing and armor kind of hung off him a little bit. It looked a little raggedy, but as he grows, it fits him better, and fur starts sprouting. His nose and mouth elongate into a snout, and pretty soon he's in his full beast-bitten form, and just looks down at the wolf like, is that still what you want?
And he kind of smiles that toothy lupine grin again and says, oh, a rather big fellow. Quite like that. How interesting that you literally make yourself a bigger feast upon command. It's quite a trick. Do what you're going to do. But just know that our hunt is eternal.
Diane, I feel like we've trapped a bit of a potent enemy. Do we murder this being?
I mean, they just murdered somebody else, so
Yeah,
I don't think Diane's about to lose any sleep over it, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to come for us later if we don't do him in. I like that we're having this conversation right in front of him also.
It's no problem to sink an axe into his skull and kill him, which you can do.
All right, we'll do it.
And in moments, we hear the thick, wet, crunching sound of you pulling your axe out of its skull. It doesn't transform or anything. It just stays dead like that. You do get to roll gold dice, so that's something. 9, in fact. Ooh, 3, not bad. We have to name this creature. I mean, I guess the name you'll be giving it is like the specific pack or type of beast-bitten, I guess, or type of beast-bitten wolf. You have already named the Black Fang Stalkers, that specific one in Hester's Mill, but you can give these a similar name if you wish.
Maybe something along the lines of like the Eternal Hunters or something like that, if we're like naming the pack.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, the Eternal Hunters, that's good. And you can put, in parentheses, put beast-bitten, just so we remember that.
All right.
And you get to take 3 things from it. What do you think?
Fangs seem kind of decorative.
Okay. Fangs. Pelt, maybe?
Sure.
And what else?
Had good luck with a liver last time.
Yeah, that sounds good. Corklock always grabbing the livers. Yeah,
yeah, there's also a little bit of weird thing. This mannequin's kind of like obsessed with livers.
That's what it seems to be, anyways. Good. Maybe like that as well. Great. Decide who's getting what, and then just make a note that they're worth 1 gold each, and put them in found equipment.
That was a question I wanted to clarify from before. It goes under found equipment. Okay.
Does.
All right. Well, I will take that lovely liver.
That's fangs for us.
And that leaves the pelt for Diane, I guess.
Well, now what? There's nothing between you and the door of the manor now, so that's handy. But there's also the greenhouse, and then if you want to go across the field a bit, there's the hedge maze.
Greenhouse. Can't resist it. You think?
Yeah, sounds good.
As you are making your way over to the greenhouse, you'll notice that there's quite a bit of, I didn't mention that the theme of this incursion is pursuit. So it's helpful. But you'll notice that there are blackberries that have kind of fallen to the ground, onto the paved portion, and they've split open. Their juice is thick, too thick and red. And at one point, a bramble, out of the corner of your eye, one of you, it appears that a bramble actually like sort of recedes or snaps back upon your approach, but maybe that's just your eyes playing tricks on you. You'll also find a row of roses that have sort of tangled to form a giant thorned bush. And these sort of blooming white roses have this very like oily sheen on their petals. The greenhouse itself is a pile of rusted iron and shattered glass. It's more or less standing, but it's not functional as a greenhouse anymore, that's for sure. You'll see a number of broken clay pots and largely dead plants all throughout. Corklook, it was your idea. What do you do?
Well, just, you never know where you're going to find the works of Mashiko, so I'll take a look at those clay pots just to make sure they're mundane terracotta rather than something truly valuable.
Yeah, I'm just going to go around the table. What will you be doing at the same time, Diane?
Although the plants are largely dead, he's going to see if any of them are useful, like medicinally or maybe poison, anything like that.
Yeah, good. And what about you, Asta?
He kind of delicately picks his way through the aisles because he's a big guy, and he kind of tilts his head and looks underneath the tables and whatever might be lying around.
Okay, good. So let's just kind of doing a general sort of poke around. I like that. Let's start with Corklook. Corklook, you're going to get a hunt roll. Are you exploiting any skills or equipment?
Artifacts.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, go for it. Like you'll have an eye for like something that might be valuable in the rubble.
Yeah. So is that a hunt with 2 dice? Is that correct?
2 dice. Yep, you always get 1 and then 1 for skills equipment.
2 twos. I'm not working on the hunts here.
What'd you get? That's just something terrible. We'll come back to that. Let's go over to Diane. Same deal. You get 1 + 1 if you can exploit a skill or equipment.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything. I have fictional positioning because I work in an apothecary, but that's about it. You're muted, Jason.
But you don't have any skills related to it, though?
No.
Okay. Yeah, just take 1. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
especially for just a sort of casual look about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. You get a token, and you may discover something as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. Osto, what about you? Do you have any skills or equipment to exploit?
Unless he just starts wrecking the place, I think not.
Do you start wrecking the place?
I think he's not there yet. He still wants to
Okay.
impress his new companions.
Indeed. Well, gosh, we're going to come back to that because you just transformed into a half bear creature. I'm curious what everyone thinks of that, but we'll come to that moment. Do go ahead and give me a single die roll, though.
Something terrible.
Mm-hmm. I do want to backtrack just a little bit. Korkalik, what did you think about the transformation that Osto undertook?
Well, like I said earlier before it occurred, I'm anticipating a bit of sort of infatuation with, my prior moment with what I assumed was a real bear, to now find that at least one human can just shift into those things. I kind of want to know how you do it. Like, what's your secret? and can you teach me?
Indeed. Diane, given that you spent some time in the body of a beast bitten, how did you feel when you saw Osto transform?
I almost wonder if he didn't know that he was a beast bitten, but he had a strong suspicion, especially since I have a skill in curses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I like that. So this is just confirming something you suspected.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, so my intuition was correct type thing.
Yeah, no, that's great. You will notice, Diane, as you're looking around, that there is, sheltered by two panes of glass that have landed just so, one extremely rare orchid remains. And taken to an orchidist, it would be worth no less than 1 gold, but perhaps 2 if you took it to somebody who really knows their stuff. In any case, this one beautiful lavender-colored orchid has managed to be preserved by these 2 fallen panes of glass in a little tiny greenhouse. What do you do? That's for Diane.
Yeah, I would absolutely harvest it carefully, and if I could find like a pot that's somewhat intact.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
And then take that and pack it carefully in my diabolical case for safekeeping.
Oh, nice. Good. Yeah, I love all that. So you can add rare orchid to your gear or to your found equipment. And then I've got hunt rolls of 2 for the other 2 of you. Something terrible. Indeed, much more of the pack returns, and they have cordoned you into the greenhouse, flanked you on both sides. There are 6 total, which makes their difficulty a 12, or their endurance a 12. And I don't know if you can reduce it because they just have numbers on you. I don't even know how you would what kind of advantage you could press here, because they have you flanked and there's a lot more of them. What do, Korkalak? You have maybe 1 moment to try to defuse this, otherwise they're attacking.
I will say we've come here to speak with your master.
Interesting. Are you hoping to just get them to stop and maybe go get their master, or what?
There's a bit of that, a bit of trying to find out the power structure hierarchy around here. Whatever the
Okay.
response is will let me know a little more about that. I'm also, well, I'm just trying to find out more about their power structure, really.
Right. Okay. So it's okay. So why don't we make this a risk roll? I think what could go wrong is they don't give a shit about your questions and they just attack, right? What do you think, Drew or Blaine? Anything more interesting than that?
In terms of their master could be with them.
Oh yeah, that could be interesting.
Nearby.
Yeah. Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, I think having their master being among them or near them, and we really don't actually want that. Is good.
Yeah, it's going to be a bad thing, I think, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about the dice. You get a light die if you can work in a skill here. What do you think, Korkaluk?
I'm gonna try and mimic my understanding of what an alpha pack member would act like, sort of that, bravado. I will accept nothing from you, whoops, other than obedience.
You're gonna assert that you're the alpha of this pack. Is that the idea? Good. Okay, I like that. Alpha to alpha. Good. I'm into that. How do you? Is it just because you step forward to make the demand, or is there some other way that you indicate that you are in charge to these wolves?
I'm holding an axe that's dripping the skull
of
their pack mate. So yeah, that's my negotiating tool right there.
Yeah, I like that. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm into that. And then Devil's Bargains. No matter what, they demand. If they, well, that won't work on fail or win. Okay. I need to think of mine still. If anybody else has an idea, go ahead.
No matter what, oh no, that won't work on fail either.
Yeah, because I had a good one I thought, but it doesn't work in both cases.
Right, here's one. No matter what, you are drawn out of the lighthouse or the grain house and out of the protection of the confinedness that would protect a little bit against their numbers. So he'd be exposed and separated.
I like that. I'll say that. No matter what, no matter how this goes, the three of you are separated. It's we're basically saying kind of the same thing, I think. Yeah.
Getting separated was my suggestion too.
So it sounds like that's your deal, Brian. No matter what, you're all getting separated.
I feel like it's not worth it.
You could just roll the one die if you want. I think you're definitely taking a dark die too, because I think you're risking your body here.
Sure.
So one light, one dark.
2 3s.
That's fail, and you cannot reroll. Here's how this goes. It's not great. They don't care about your request. As the conversation's happening, they are carefully positioning themselves to basically split you all up in the combat so that you can't work together. And what that means, in practically speaking, what it means is that each of you are going to be involved in a combat. And the combat is going to be with one wolf each, while the other 3 wolves basically keep you separated. It's like you're facing off against a wolf while the other three wolves keep you pinned in. It's almost like they create three little separate battle arenas. with it, like tactically, that's how they split you up. If you transform Osto, if you're going to fight them in bear form, you will have to deal with both. They will not let you do. They will not like that balance of power. So,
makes sense.
Yeah. So I'll leave that up to you. But in any case, I think we're going to combats here. Individually, they have endurances of 9. Obviously, you can't do that the first round, but the second round you could theoretically defeat them. But they just, before you know it, you're all kind of you've all been kind of split up. You've got like bits of rubble between you. You've got the wolves that they've kind of worked themselves out to where they've just got you all isolated, and that's how they want you. And let's do it. Everybody, well, let's start with Korkaluk. Korkaluk, how are you vulnerable right now?
Do you mean beyond the obvious they have fangs and I have fragile body parts?
I mean, I like that. I don't think you need to go necessarily more, but I'm into that. It's fine. Roll your
There's
weak
also
point.
the clutter of broken down greenhouse surrounding us.
Yeah, more things to break on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and roll weak point.
So, sorry, weak. There we go.
2. Not a bad weak point, at least. And go ahead and do a combat 1. See how it goes.
Right. 1 die?
Yep, 1 die to start.
Dude, I am rocking the dice today.
Boy, it hates you today. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. The first round does not go well for you, Korkaluk. I'm just going to take the fiction. I think that they have noticed you. I think you instinctively like cover one of your porcelain joints, right? And they noted that when they first saw you. And essentially, I think what they do is they basically, this wolf like jumps up, grabs your axe arm, and uses its weight to essentially slam your arm and your elbow down against a bit of rubble, and it shatters that porcelain joint. And your axe, it all just falls down. And the wolf looks up at you and speaks with a woman's voice and says, "You're looking a little disarmed, friend." Let's go over to Diane. Diane, how are you vulnerable? And you're, by the way, ruin goes up by 1, and you have the condition missing an arm or disarmed.
Yeah, for Diane, it's as much, again, he has soft fleshy bits, and also that he's not the strongest fighter here. He is more towards that hermetic bent, almost.
Absolutely. Go ahead and roll your weak point.
My weak point is 4.
And go ahead and do the combat as well. All right. 3 combat rolls, so you don't get hit, but just give me a little bit of the fiction. How's this combat going to start?
Yeah, like he sort of like did a little ring around the rosy around like some fallen in section of the roof, and through that has like managed to like keep it from nipping at him yet.
Now, Osto, I will tell you that if you want to fight in bear form, or your half bear form, I think that'll give you an advantage in the fight. It'll lower the endurance by 1, but it will cause the other wolf to join the combat. So that would make their endurance 11, but your bear form would knock it down to a 10. So that's kind of where you're at with that. But you could theoretically kill 2 of them. So
I think Osto doesn't have much of a say in this particular instance. The stress and the urgency, he will have transformed.
Yeah, and maybe it's not even a matter of like. I think maybe you never even like completely came down from your last transformation, right? And it just sort of like bubbles back up to the surface.
Okay.
Endurance is 10. You got 2 wolves to deal with. How are you vulnerable?
Having 2 wolves, I can only
fair enough. Yeah.
can only deal with one at a time.
What's your weapon that you use, or are you using a weapon?
I have a warhammer.
Okay, cool. Go ahead and roll your combat, or weak point first.
Oh,
6, not great.
Not good.
Go ahead and roll your combat.
Just the one?
Just 1 for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it was a 1. At least you're not hit though. Give me the beginning of the fight.
So he kind of he lets out a roar trying to intimidate, but actually it's more just nerves and oh shit in bear. And he kind of swings his warhammer, but it's not a good hit. Just kind of clips the one in front of him, and he knows that there's others nearby, but he's unsure where to look.
Awesome, I love it. Corkalick, you're up to 2 dice now.
All right. Does the weak point stay? Is that correct?
It does stay, yeah.
Okay.
2 dice. No weapon at the moment. Although, I suppose you could just reach down with your other arm and grab the axe, but,
Wow, 2 6s. The dice returned.
Dude. Good. What was your weak point?
2.
All right, so you take this wolf out expeditiously. Describe it. What does it look like? After she makes her sarcastic remark, what do you do?
Oh, well, the obvious retort is that, you've bitten off more than you can chew, and then, take the axe and jam it right into her snout.
Nice, good, I love it. Oh, very good. Let's go over to Diane. You have 2 dice now.
Hey. That is my weak point twice.
That's not great.
It's 8.
It's not enough to kill it, and you also are taking 2 hits unless you want to absorb it with an armor. So,
would that absorb both hits or just one?
It takes them both. Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, I'll have to do that because that'll put me dangerously close to death.
Give me the scene. What does it look like?
Yeah, so like I was trying to avoid it while also trying to like get a good spot to like jab in with the sickle, and it's sort of keeping that wolf at bay, but I don't see the one that's also like hemming me in and then just comes up behind and just tries to take a chunk out of my my leg. And I don't know how that works with like this protective amulet because we haven't really established exactly how much physical protection it gives.
I mean, I think now's the time to figure that out, I suppose. If you're not, is that your only armor? Or
yeah.
It could just be luck, right? I mean, possibly,
Yeah, like the knuckle bones crumble again, and then as it's like going in, I like take a step in the wrong direction and to trip over it instead of actually getting bitten.
Nice, good. Osto, you're up to 2 dice.
Okay, so I take 1 hit.
What was the total? 8?
8. Yeah, 1's a 6. So.
All right. Describe the this round. What does it look like?
I kind of just whirl around with my warhammer trying to hit one of the other wolves and hoping I can catch it before it lunges at me. And as I do and kind of knock it back a little bit, another one lunges forward and gets me in the back of my calf. Just takes a nice little chunk.
Nice. The wolf that was keeping you pinned in, Korkaluk, raises a wolfy brow as its companion, slunks down dead, and it looks up at you and says, "Well, now you have a choice to make, don't you? Which one of your friends will you save?"
You're the one who has a choice to make. Do you want a piece of this axe or do you want to leave now?
I find this all quite boring. And he turns around and walks off.
All right. If I can, I will. I'm assuming the other fights are still continuing.
They are indeed, yeah. You can scramble over to one of them and join if you wish.
All right. I will, for the moment, leap in and try and help Dion polish off his beastie.
All right, Diane, so you can take 4 dice total. Go for it.
All right. If all of these come up 4s, Diane just dies probably, right? It's a 5, a 3, a 2, and a 1.
Fortunately, none of them came up 4s. Are any of those your weak point, Korkaluk?
I believe it's Korkaluk's.
Yeah, Korkaluk. Yeah, so Korkaluk, you take a hit, but you are no closer to defeating this wolf. What does it look like?
All right. I feel like I'm rushing forward with the axe here, thinking I'm gonna get the drop on it, and the wolves are a little more erratic in their fighting technique, and so my attempt to leap in from behind isn't quite isn't at all successful. And it turns around and takes a good solid swipe at my head, and I feel like I should bust my new porcelain helmet and save my skin a little bit here.
Indeed.
Clips the helmet off and shatters it.
Awesome. Osto, you got a pair of wolves here. A pair of wolves and 3 dice.
All right.
3 in 1 pair. Full house.
Oh no. So that's 2 ruin for me. I will take those hits to my breastplate and gauntlets.
But you defeat them though, so
yes.
Yeah.
And just one really big kind of desperation swing. He just kind of grips both hands on his warhammer and turns and just nails one right into the other. And that seems to do it.
Nice. To be clear, you only have to mark 1 armor to get the benefit of both, to absorb both hits.
Thank you. Breastplate then.
Okay. So you just grab them and smash them together. Yep. Good. Awesome. Love it. I think I want one more round with just Korkaluk and Diane. At this point, up to 5 dice. This could kill someone if it goes poorly. Hopefully you get a 9 on all this. Are you ready to do it?
That's another 2 sets of 4s.
Are you dead now?
No, I'm 1 away.
Right. You killed him.
We
did
get a 9.
So that's good. A 5 and a 4 is a 9. Let's have some fiction. Kill this wolf. What does it look like?
Yeah, I think like with Korkaluk now hearing the wolf on the other side, that gives Diane the opportunity he needs to do what he usually does, which is wait for it to be distracted and then slit its throat with the sickle. And it's probably not very clean here, and like the wolf like gets a good chunk out of his hand.
Nice, good. Anything to add, Korkaluk, or?
I'm picturing the head keeps biting even as it's, dropping down deceased, that the jaws have a bit more thirst for blood and vengeance.
The 2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, the couple remaining wolves, they back off casually almost. And they say, "You have acquitted yourself well," one of them says. "Perhaps you should join us for our feast. Have a look around. The pack will trouble you no more." And they trot off. Let's take a 5-minute break. So basically the surviving pack members, or at least in that little group, said the pack will trouble you no more. And hey, why don't you join us for dinner? And then they left. 3 combats is 3 gold rolls. Osto, you get 10 gold dice. The other 2 of you get 9 each.
Two.
Nice. You can create new parts to harvest, or you can just grab extras of what's already been identified.
I think he will take another fang, and he kind of just takes one of the many shards of glass, and with some ingenious use of his warhammer, he manages to lop off one of the paws, like a lucky rabbit's foot, except neither of those things.
An eternal huntsman's foot. Yeah, it's good. Nice. Okay, good. Paul. How did the other 2 of you do?
Diane also got 2 gold.
Nice. And so did Corkalock. Cool.
Yep. And as you'll recall, my what passes for my mannequin hair is kind of a mildewy thatch of straw that I'm a little embarrassed by, and having lost my helmet, I'm going to take the long, fluffy wolf tail off of one of these guys and kind of coil into a really ridiculous-looking sort of
Daniel Boone thing.
sort of the Daniel Boone thing, right? Yeah, exactly. That's my harvest, if you will. A couple of wolf tails.
I like it. I'm into it. Yeah, that's great. All right. Diane, what are you taking from the wolves?
Diane's going to take complete a set of the original 3, so he's going to take fangs and liver.
Nice. Right. I think by the time you finish field dressing these animals and doing all this stuff, it's already dusk. I think you arrived in the afternoon and it's now dusk. So there's nothing else to find in the greenhouse. You've had plenty of time to be in the greenhouse while you're doing this, and so that's in the clear. Osto, what would you like to do next?
I think Osto was fully anticipating camping out and isn't particularly feeling much urgency to go back to town or leave. So he kind of looks to the others and says, so are we just making camp, or?
You will see lights on in the manor. Candles are lit. Lanterns are lit.
Or are we going for dinner?
I'm not sure I'd want to eat whatever they're serving. We saw what they were eating out here. But
I admit I'm curious, though, and we were invited.
You were invited.
It seems like not the place we'd want to be rude.
Maybe there's an amazing sort of aperitif that will cure you of a ruin.
Possibly.
By the by, Osto, do you know how all of that works? Am I going to become one of them now?
Probably not.
That's a relief anyway.
Osto actually has no idea. He's just kind of...
Right, does that sound right to Diane with his knowledge of curses?
You know, you do have knowledge of curses. I will tell you that it has to be an intentional thing. The beast bitten, imparting the curse, must wish to do so.
Okay. But I have no idea whether they did or not.
Indeed. Well, so the manor is, you can just walk right in and solve this set. You can go check out the hedge maze as well. It's still enough dusk light to do that, I think. Although you can't wait much longer, or you'll be navigating the hedge maze in the dark, or with whatever torches you brought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hedge maze in the dark sounds like a horrible idea. And I'm maybe not clear on one thing. The feast that they invited us to, are we clear that was in the manor? Was it implied, or do we not know?
It's implied. You don't know where they went off to, but you have started to see lanterns lighting up in the manor. Someone's there. You were under the impression, in fact, all of Fort Durham is under the impression that this place has been abandoned for decades. So
I'm for going in if unless there's strong objections.
Sure.
Well,
Osto kind of agrees.
set solved. So let's talk about, I'm going to pull up my notes real quick. So the oversized double doors to the manor are in the same worn, overgrown condition as the rest of the gardens. Inside, however, is entirely different. Here, everything is exceptionally well tended, nearly immaculate. The entrance hall is large and long, ending in a curved double staircase that goes up to a place where you hear nothing, but you do no, you don't hear, smell, or see anything from down below. You just see the double staircases that go up into another part of the house. There are thick carpets, and they show no signs of wear, and there are no footprints even. And on both the left and right sides of the hall are arched entrances to what you know to be, from when you were outside, the north and south wings of the manor. So you have the north wing, the south wing, and whatever's at the top of the staircase. Korkuluk, what do you do?
Do we have a set goal?
Not yet.
Okay.
This is still technically part of the last set.
And no smells of food wafting from any direction?
Actually, no, nothing. It's all very beautifully kept and tended, but if there's anyone in the house, someone must have lit these lanterns and things, and there's a chandelier overhead, like someone took the time to do that. There's no evidence of them.
Right.
At a glance.
Any portraiture around showing occupants?
Yes, you will see large paintings in the hall that sort of like peer down. There's this sort of like vaulted ceiling, right? You have these large, tall paintings of the various Marquess and Marquesses Niral of history.
Okay. Anything to learn from those, or just decor?
If you're asking questions, I'm into it. What's
curious if there's anything to learn about what we know of the history was there was a final hunt,
right,
where he was gone for
a year. Yeah.
Whether there's documentation leading up to that can be implied from.
I like all that. You have a myths skill from your antiquarian occupation.
Correct.
And artifacts, I think, might also apply as well, depending on how you're doing it. So that's a 2-die hunt roll. Go for it.
Okay. I'm working my way up. 2 3s.
The hunt rolls have been exceptionally unkind to you today. You encounter something terrible. Indeed you do. You are looking at the paintings. And as you're looking at the paintings of the various Marquesses and Marquesas, I guess, is the female or the woman title. You're looking at these paintings of them, and they all seem like they have a smirk on their faces. a knowing smirk. They even seem to be like looking ahead down the line, like their eyes shifted as if looking to the next portrait. And when you get to the last one, which is the, I don't want to say contemporary because that's not right, but the last Marquess Niral, the one of in the stories, you'll notice that his painting has no face. There's a powdered wig. There's a beautiful velvet waistcoat. He has his hand on a crossbow propped up, but the face has not, it was like it wasn't painted, it's just blank. What do you think about that? What do you surmise from that? I'm not saying it's right, but just, what do you think?
Yeah, it seems either that this being was of a mutable form, sort of like these beast-bitten who transform back and forth. This one perhaps was formless, or an erasure, that the painting was worked over in his absence.
Diane, what are you doing in the meantime while Corkuluk is taking a look at these paintings?
So this is a hunting manor. Are there like trophies on the walls? And
not in this room, no.
Not in this room?
Not in the Great Hall.
Yeah. Then I suppose he'd be looking for like anything inconspicuous that he might be able to lift off that might be valuable. So like looking for a silver plate on a side table or something like that.
Yeah, good. Yeah, right. I like it. Fantastic. I don't think any of your skills apply, but do you have any equipment you can maybe work into the hunt roll?
I mean, improvisation, he can improvise it into his pocket.
That's a stretch.
Let's see. Not really.
Does craft imply that you have, little tool belt or pouch or anything?
It might imply it, but I don't know that it would go for that. But I could use craft to recognize good craftsmanship.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's a good justification. Go ahead and take your 2 dice.
Get a token, but encounter something terrible.
What did you do? As you are looking around, I mentioned that there are these chandeliers at the highest part of the vaulted ceiling. And you start to feel or hear at first like a dripping sound on the carpet. And then you feel a droplet on your lip, and you taste it, and it's blood. And if you look up, you will see that a person fairly recently has been artistically arranged inside the chandelier, their bodies splayed, their limbs almost woven into the iron and woodwork, and their wounds dripping down. What do you do? How do you feel?
Yeah, Diane grimaces and takes a step out from being under it because he doesn't want any more dripping on him. probably like get the other's attention and give a point, and it's like, this is their usual welcome. I think I'm rather glad that we were more rude than those guests. Maybe we should be even more rude and not attend this feast.
Well, Osto, what are you doing?
So as he was kind of picking his way around the room very carefully, because everything looks very expensive and he is aware of his propensity for destruction, he's not really seeing anything that means much to him or would kind of encourage him to take any action. But he definitely notices just how rich everything looks, and he is going to be looking for opportunities to take what he can. And when Diane points out the body up, he kind of he looks at it for a couple minutes and looks back at Diane like, okay, so this is how we react to this. This is bad. Yes. Okay. Like he's not overly troubled by the fact that there's a dead body. It's kind of it's passé with everything they've seen so far.
When you were in your bear form, back before you were cured, did you eat people?
That wouldn't be a thing he'd like to talk about, but yes.
Now, with the perfume of blood and viscera in the air, does this stir anything inside you?
Guilt and self-recrimination and a little bit of illness, but he's not particularly disgusted or perturbed by the corpse, just he doesn't like it.
Fair enough. Corkloak, I don't think there's anything else to see in this great hall. What do you think about doing next?
Yeah, I feel like we should move on and find this feast, even though we might not wish to remain once we encounter it. I feel like let's explore one of these paths, but a part of me feels like even though the dining hall or whatever is perhaps unlikely to be up, a part of me thinks we should go up first, poke and prod around. Maybe we pinch a few candelabra or silver cutlery platters, as you were talking about, to be able to pay our way back in town. And then we can just pretend we were lost if we arrive at the feast and, have our pockets stuffed full of goods.
You just, you brought your own silver. You brought your own candlesticks. Good. Well, if Osto and Diane don't object, upstairs sounds great to me. So.
Still no set objective?
Not yet. Well, once you go upstairs, there will be. But.
Okay.
Yeah, upstairs works.
The set name is the Feast Hall. The set goal: enjoy the feast. When you get to the top of the steps, they end at a arched entranceway which leads immediately into a massive feast hall. And you don't hear the feast or even see the feast until you step beyond the archway, at which point it becomes fully visible and you're aware of it. There are open rafters overhead, candles dripping wax from these elaborate antler candelabra. There are large wooden trestle tables, like a dozen of them, massive, long, heaped with platters of meats and breads and vegetables. And there are many guests in attendance, dozens and dozens. They are engaged in very boisterous conversation there is a constant roar of enjoyment going on, right? Like here and there, you just hear people like, oh, you know, men and women alike. They wear fashionable, expensive clothing, but functional. Like the men are wearing very fashionable but highly functional leather hunting clothes, good quality cloaks, leather shirts, right? Tall boots. The women are wearing gowns that are corseted with sturdy leather corsets. On one end of the room, there is a small dais, but there's no table on the dais, just an arched doorway with the doorway is in the shape of a snarling wolf face. Like the whole door is like the face of a wolf. And oddly, on the other side of the door, you can literally see a staircase spiraling up to somewhere, but it's unclear what the door is doing, because theoretically you could just walk around the door to get to the staircase, but there is nevertheless a freestanding door in front of the staircase shaped like a wolf's face. People turn, they notice you walk in, and someone will make a gesture. Please join us. There aren't too many seats left, but I'm sure you'll be able to find something. And indeed, if you look around, there is nowhere in the feast hall where there are enough places to sit where you can all be together. You have to sit separately. But there are several individual spots. What do you do? Corklick, you were keen to go up first. What do you do?
Yeah. By the way, when we took a break, I forgot to mention wanting to pick up my lopped off arm. And I feel like that kind of comes in here, that I will sidle up to a table and lay that arm down, and then kind of, start threading it back on so it can at least hang there, even if it's not so functional.
One of the guests who's shoving a meat pie into their face says, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but I'm told I'm a very disarming conversationalist.
Oh, I will introduce myself to this charming wit.
He just says it with just like food, like just bits of pie crust in his beard.
Yeah. So I am Corkalook. I'm pleased to meet you. Do you dine here often?
He says, do I dine here often? What a good question. I suppose it's more accurate to say I dine here and then he sort of like is about to answer your question, but a woman next to him puts a hand on his hand as if to say, not quite yet. And he says, I dine here often. And he shoves the meat pie into his face.
All right.
Some other details in the room. Meat pies. There's a great big table of them, arranged in a beautiful pyramid. And there's a rich, wonderful, savory smell coming off of the meat pie table. You can see some of them have slight imperfections in the crust. They have a couple of them have burst, and you can see the dark brown gravy dribbling from the side. Paul Hollywood would not approve, but nevertheless, they're still edible. Also, in one corner of the room, there is a woman wearing a sort of dark midnight blue velvet gown, and she's sitting at a table draped with a purple velvet cloth, and she is clearly doing tarot card readings for the people who, there's a small line of people like waiting to have their tarot cards read. Osto, what are you doing right now? You cannot sit next to Korkaluk because there just aren't seats together.
Oh, Cat, naturally, I wouldn't want to be too rude, but would he be able to detect any beast bitten in the area?
Every one of these people is beast bitten.
I thought that might be the case. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And everybody is human?
They're all in a human form. Yeah.
Okay. So he would kind of, at first he'd start to follow Korkaluk because that's, if he's going that way, then we should all go that way. But then he sees that there's nowhere to sit, and he kind of does that awkward little, oh no, I was actually turning, and just kind of moves to the next nearest table and slowly takes a seat, just kind of very aware of his presence and also not wanting to make too much of an announcement of himself.
The man that you're sitting across from is sort of mutely consuming a heaping plate of meat with abandon. And at some point, a small mouse climbs onto the table, and the man scoops it up, dips it in a bowl of gravy, and just pops it in his mouth. And he looks at you, the little mouse tail whipping wildly between his lips. He says, "Oh, I'm sorry, how terribly rude of me. Here, sausages are fabulous." And he offers you a sausage.
And Osto kind of looks at the sausage for too long to be necessarily polite, and he says, "Oh no, thank you, I've already eaten."
He says, "You came to the feast on a full stomach? Your loss, friend." And he just goes back to, he just snaps into a sausage, and there's hot sausage grease dribbling down his chin. Diane, what are you up to?
Diane is waiting in line to get his tarot read.
Ah, very good, very good. As
and
you
to
are
try and glean what he can from if she's actually a real fortune teller, if there's like any mysticism involved, or if it's just a card thing.
Yeah. I'll take that as a hunt roll. I think you have enough time to sort of try to at least assess the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Any skills that are relevant here?
Curses or spirits?
I'll take spirits, because if she's a proper medium, she might have some sort of spirit miasma around her, right? 2 dice.
It's a 6.
Nice. You get a token. Yeah, she's the real deal. How do you know?
I think there's something about her that he immediately recognizes as like something else that the Witch of Navast had, and like that sort of like gives him the first clue, and from there's just like a little, just a trail of small clues that like it's this ring she's wearing or whatever, and like maybe he sees like, oh, she's also got a protective amulet or something along those lines.
Good, I love it. We'll come back to that. Korkaluk, what are you up to right now?
I'm curious, is there a train of people bringing food in and out? Is there a kitchen?
No. It's unclear where the food came from. That's a good question, though. You'll be able to recognize that easily. You'll put together very quickly, like it's unclear where the food is coming from.
All right. And I don't eat a lot as a mannequin, but I will kind of pick a little bit at something and take a little nibble of it and see if I can tell if we're eating human meat or
Right.
not that I necessarily know the taste of that, but
I'm into it. I'll take this as a hunt roll. Obfuscation, possibly, because seems like you're suspicious of this whole situation.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very suspicious.
Roll two hunt roll. Two
Oh.
dice.
Sorry, 2 dice, you said?
2 light dice, yeah.
Okay. 5. Not 3.
Nice. You get a token, and also you discover something terrible. Let me take a look at my notes real quick. I think you are carefully picking your way through a meat pie, and you find something that sticks out in the brown gravy. That's always a good thing, right? It is definitely a human fingernail, not a clipping, a whole nail. Yeah.
I knew it. Boy, if Osto, okay, can I do one of those? Don't eat the pie.
Who knows if you're going to get that message across. Meanwhile, Osto, at your table, kind of at the one end of, kind of the other end of the table where you're sitting, but you can still hear pretty clearly what they're saying. You're kind of catching someone in the middle of a story. It's a woman. She says, "Now, the bounty was only enough for all of us if we brought him in alive. When we got upstairs, we found him all right, and the poor bastard was already running on hooves. Can you imagine hooves? Well, there was no way to bring him alive after that, but I could at least bring his head back. And there was plenty of Balin to go around, but not enough bounty, right? Fortunately, my 2 companions were jumpy as deer by that point, so yeah, no problems." Everyone laughs. She continues, "Oh, what was that, 50 years ago? I still have a bit of Balin left, in fact." And then she lifts a coin purse and shakes it and just sort of sits down contentedly in her chair, or leans back, rather. Meanwhile, Osto, what are you doing?
He's kind of politely listening without trying to, draw too much attention. So he'll smile and nod and like he belongs here. And meanwhile, he's looking around and trying to.
Do you see the urgent one-armed waving of Korkaluk?
I think he does, yeah. And he's just like, yeah, I figured. Would he recognize the smell of human meat?
Not cooked necessarily. I don't
Fair
think
enough.
So.
Yeah.
But
after everything they've seen, he assumed that at least something in here was going to have been human.
Yeah. I don't think it necessarily all is either. You do see cuts of meat that are definitely animals, right? Like haunches of game, turkey legs, things like that, right? Let's go to the card reading. Unless you have anything else to add, Austin.
I was just going to ask, could I make conversation with the fellow that chatted with me?
Yeah, the one that just sucked down a mouse. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's kind of just snapped into that sausage, and he says, "Oh, so you start. What do you say?"
So is this a feast of an occasion, or just for fun?
And I think there probably was an occasion at one point, but now the Marquess just gathers us whenever he has a wild idea to have people around. There will be a hunt, of course.
Of course.
At some point. But, well, I mean, here we all are. This is about as grand as it gets. You know, I can scarcely remember a time when I wasn't on the hunt.
And when will the Marquis be joining us? Is he in the building now?
Oh, yes, he is. And he just like looks to your right. That's him there.
And he turns quite sharply to look, and as he
You
does,
see a man sitting with his elbow on the table, looking at you, smiling. He is very handsome. Silver hair, or silver temples, like gray brown hair, but silver hair, his temples. Very rakish look. And nice, like everyone, very nice, beautiful hunting clothes. His leather shirt is embroidered with the symbol of House Niral, which you would have noticed previously down in the Great Hall. But it's basically like a wolf's head with a trio of wolves running around the wolf's head. It's all wolves all day at House Niral, right? And he's just got his elbow on the table and he's smiling at you. And he says, sorry, I probably shouldn't just be sitting here, but I smelled you first. And, well, I have to ask the question. Do bear be-spitten have to hibernate?
And he started stiffening up, getting nervous as the lead up to the question. And then when it came out, he kind of deflates, like, oh, that's it. No.
Do you sleep in a lot or sleep longer than most people?
I mean, I don't think so. He's very unnerved.
Do you have a taste for freshwater fish?
I do love salmon.
There we are then. Very good, very good. Tell me, how do you feel about hunting game?
He kind of looks down at the table and starts running his finger over it. And, well, it can be fun.
Good. That's very good. I notice you're not eating.
Big lunch.
It's not all people. And he kind of grabs a hunk of venison, pushes it towards you. It says, please eat. You're going to need your strength. And he gets up and he does that slap you on the shoulders with both hands thing, and says, right. I didn't catch your name.
Osto.
Osto. Good. And in some other timeline, he says, hasta la vista, and then he walks away. But he doesn't in this one.
Well, now we know he has to die.
And he saunters off. You get to the end of the line at the tarot card reading spot, Diane. And this woman who's wearing this midnight blue velvet gown embroidered with stars and moons and things. And she has a veil over her face. You can see her face, but it's covered by a veil, like a translucent veil. And she says, so, and she's sort of shuffling her cards. Please have a seat.
He sits.
Tell me, what do you hope the sisters reveal to you today, friend?
Hope the sisters will answer the questions of I hope that will set me on my proper path to being rid of my curse.
Ooh. Still haven't gotten comfortable with your curse, have you? Well, that's all right. And she's shuffling the cards. She says, yeah. I suppose you want a little bit of theatrics for your copper coins, hmm? And she begins to...
He sort of like is like, save the effort. I know you've got the power.
Do you? Do you indeed? Well, and she spreads the cards across the table. The backs of the cards are marked with a common symbol of the loose, unified faith of this world. People venerate all sorts of gods and entities, but the sisters keep it all together, right? And the common symbol, Korkluk, what is the common symbol of the sisters that indicates a unity of world, of people?
Well, it's a thing we can all look on every night, the crescent moon.
Indeed. And so there's this stylized crescent moon on the back of the cards. And here you are going to draw cards. And the way we draw cards in the incursion is you roll a light die and a dark die. For our purposes, you're just going to roll risk 1-1, basically, to get the light and the dark.
That's a 6 and a 5.
Right,
In that order.
Let's take a look. You're going to be drawing 3 cards. You draw the first card. The first card is Saint Yundran. And Saint Yundran is depicted as a woman standing in a barren landscape, exposed sword in one hand and a skin of water in the other. Now, if we were doing this face-to-face, we would also, you would physically see which die rolled closer to you, in which case that determines whether the card is reversed or not. In this case, I'm just going to determine randomly whether it's reversed or not for us. And I need a die. But face-to-face, you would roll the 2 dice, and then you would see, if the dark die is closer to you, then it's a reversed card. Okay, it's not reversed. A woman standing in a barren landscape, exposed sword in one hand and a skin of water in the other. She says, I see that very soon you will be traveling through a very desolate, inhospitable terrain. And I see that you will inadvertently destroy something in this inhospitable place. Perhaps you should draw another card to get a more precise meaning.
Well, what's the harm in it? And he'll double down.
Go ahead and draw another card. Just make that same roll. Two light, 3 dark.
Yeah.
And it's not reversed. We'll talk about the next card in a minute. Let's go back to Korkuluk. Korkuluk, what are you up to?
I'm about to dig into, what do you say, sort of cannibal culture here. I'm going to make a show of eating the meat pie, but as a mannequin, like I said, I barely eat anyway, but I do have a little odd crevices kind of here and there within my body. So I'm gonna take a little nibble and then kind of like jam it into a patch of vines and porcelain to hide it.
Dude.
And
So you look like you're enjoying the feast.
Right. Look like I'm enjoying the feast. And then kind of lean over conspiratorially and say, don't let my companions know this, but I've got quite the taste for human flesh, and it is hard to source it. Where is your supply? How do you come by this?
And he says, well, you should know that that's perfectly disgusting. We eat people because we have to. A part wolf. You don't have to. You're not even a person.
Well, I acquired the taste. It in dire times, sometimes.
It is quite delicious. It is quite delicious. But truth be told, I don't know where it comes from. It's always just sort of here, isn't it?
Oh,
in fact, we're always just sort of here.
Now it's sourced from the Marquess's hunt.
Oh well, I don't really know. I don't think I could speak to that. And then the woman who's been like keeping him kind of quiet, she interjects and says, "Friend, this place is not a real place."
The feast hall is not what it appears to be.
This place is like a dream that never ends.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows where the food came from?
Would you desire an end to this dream, or are you enjoying this experience, this buffet?
I think most of us are too scared to contemplate the ending of the feast, the ending of the hunt.
Do you recall the beginning? First feast.
And a tear rolls down her eye, or down her cheek. And she says, no, I do not.
Come walk with me, I say to the woman.
She gets up. She'll walk with you. Osto, what are you up to?
He has enjoyed the venison. If he's gotten any seconds or thirds, it's all been definitely not human, like vegetables or some breads.
Right. Yeah.
And he's kind of made conversation here and there, being polite, not especially forthcoming, but he's definitely keeping an eye on his companions. And when he sees Korkuluk get up, he kind of considers following at a distance, but he also doesn't want to leave Diane in here alone. So,
Indeed. Are you looking generally for danger, I guess?
He feels, in the way I think of him, he is very much still a young person.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to be with the people he knows, even if he doesn't know them very well. So he's nervous about being left alone in here.
Yeah. Let's take a 5-minute break. So, to be clear, sorry, I just to refresh a little bit here, Osto. I understood generally kind of like your feeling about why you were doing what you're doing, but are you actually like, what actions are you taking right now?
I think he will actually get up to join Diane and report back that he's met the Marquess now.
Okay. You can just walk up while Diane's in the middle of his reading if you want.
Okay. So he gets up, smiling politely to his neighbors, and kind of threads his way through the crowd, and always smiling politely, ducking his head, and just kind of comes up alongside Diane and goes, hey, the Marquess is here.
And just then, your second card is flipped, Diane, and it is Saint Opelette, possibly. I don't know. In any case, Saint Obolet, depicted as a woman bound in a mass of thorns, her flesh pricked and bleeding. The fortune teller says, this indicates a terrible loss. The question is, are you taking this journey that would lead to some sort of destruction? Are you taking it because of the pain, because of the loss? Or will you experience the loss because of the journey? Draw one more card and let us see how this concludes, shall we? You're muted, Blade.
Okay, I was just saying that I don't think he has like any witty rejoinder here. He's just sort of got a grim determination to see what this future prediction is, even if it's bad and he suspects it's bad.
So are you going to draw another card?
Yes. Okay. He will do 3 and no more. It's a 5 and a 3, light and dark.
And it's reversed. The last card is St. Kaledo, a woman wearing a veil through which only her blackened lips can be seen. She says, now I see the truth of it. This indicates that you will be infected with a terrible rot, a physical rot, or perhaps a rot of the spirit. But nevertheless, it is a dead and dying thing that weighs heavily upon you. That is intrinsically a part of you. I believe that this rot is why you must take your journey, because you must try to get rid of it. And along the way, you will spread your rot to innocent people. And this spread of the rot will cause you terrible pain, perhaps even pain that you cannot live with. But you will be clean and clear of body, if not of conscience. She gathers up the cards. Your friend anxiously wants to tell you something. Perhaps your friend would like a reading. I'll let you skip the line.
Must have just no.
Very well.
I do believe you've shortchanged me. I asked for a reading of my current journey, not of another one.
Oh. Well. Perhaps you are on the journey even now. Who can say? The cards are very, very vague sometimes.
That's why I don't usually bother with those who read the futures, even if they do have such a power.
She turns to Osto and she says, I know where I've seen you now. I saw you in a dream. Saw you in a dream long, long ago. Perhaps even before you were born, by the look of you. Yet it was you, as clear to me then as you are to me now, standing in front of this table. Are you sure you do not wish to peer through the veil, friend?
He kind of hems and haws for a moment.
And then she says, I have seen your brother as well. You have a brother, do you not?
His face just goes completely white. He is, now she has his rapt attention.
Perhaps we could look in on him. Hmm? She shuffles the cards. I don't have to look at the cards to know that he suffers terribly, but perhaps there is more to know. Please sit.
He does.
She spreads the cards in front of you. Make a draw. Roll risk 1-1.
White 2, dark 2. Sorry, white 1, dark 2.
You draw the card and flip it over, and it's perfectly blank. She says, draw another.
White 1, dark 5.
You draw the card and flip it over, and it's perfectly blank. She takes in a sharp inhalation of breath, and another.
Light 2, dark 4.
You draw the third card and flip it, and it's perfectly blank. She looks up at you, and she says, I'm sorry. And then she gathers up the cards, stands up, and leaves.
Can Diane have any sort of like interpretation on that? Like, was something happening there spiritually?
Yeah, probably. Corkluck. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Austin, how are you feeling?
He would turn to Diane like, what? Like, can help? What?
There's, as she said, in many ways the cards can be read, but given this place, it may be that your future is blank and you may want to consider your options in the very near future.
Corkluck, where do you take this woman?
Well, I want to walk to the. Was there a door we passed into to reach this?
There's the archway, yeah, that goes inside. Yeah.
Okay. I want to walk that way first to see if she can exit that door with me, even like if she's physically able to. If we can step out on the landing, we'll do so.
As you step out of the landing, she steps out as a wolf.
Ah. I look to her eyes and say, as I suspected, let's head back in. I've got another doorway I'd like to walk through, and head over to the door that is the suspended or
that wolf door,
the wolf-faced sort of door in a frame without a wall.
She'll touch your shoulder to stop you as you approach that door, and she says, "No, it's not time for that door yet. We have a couple of hours yet."
Would a couple hours be midnight, or is that just a random time?
It's unclear, actually. Time seems to have gotten away from you. You're not even sure what time it is right now. Right. How much time has passed?
I'm assuming she's back to human form within
she is.
The dining hall. I'll whisper to her and say, the bit about a taste for human flesh, it's, I try to fit in where I can. It's not easy for me as a mannequin, so I try to adapt to local customs. But it seems that you might desire to be free of this space.
It is not so much a matter that I desire to be free. It is more that I want to know why this place is.
I'm certain that we can help, but I need to know a little more about the first feast. And it seems you have memories of that.
Good. I think if you're going to take a moment to have a conversation with her, we'll count this as a hunt roll.
Okay.
What do you think about what kinds of skills or possibly even equipment you could exploit here?
In the sense of myths that stories begin and are told again and again and repeat in sort of slightly modified iterations, I feel like I can talk about her experience as sort of a living myth.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So, yeah, I like that. 2 dice. Go for it.
Finally, the dice behave. 5 and a 6.
Nice. Take a token. We'll come back to that conversation in a minute. I want to cut back over to Diane and Osto. The Marquess will come up to the two of you, and he says, he quite, in a very familiar way, puts his arm around you both, like he's in the middle of you, right? Weekend at Bernie's style. And he says, now, I don't want to presume, but I do want to offer that you are welcome to join us on the hunt. The hunt will begin in a few hours yet. 2 hours, say. It's so hard to tell, to be quite honest. You just sort of know. I hope that you will join me. Join us. We are hunting magnificent game today. You might even say we're hunting an old foe. Someone who's always given me the slip.
I'm afraid I'm not much of a hunter. You can see
Don't you worry, friend. We can take care of that. He winks very dramatically, like.
I do believe I catch your meaning.
So that's a yes? And you?
Do not believe I confirmed. I did not answer.
I can read your heart. I know what you want secretly. I do. I can smell it on you. You have the smell of someone who has something to prove. And how better to prove yourself than getting your blood up, boiling and hot as you race through the foliage and attempt to take down magnificent stag.
Yes, I'm sure we're hunting a stag that's eluded you. Must be quite the clever beast.
Oh, it is. Very, very clever. What about you? Can you bear it?
Osto kind of grimaces a little at that one and kind of goes and after the hunt?
After the hunt. Yes, there will be an after. Theoretically, there will be an after.
And
So celebrate. We shall celebrate.
Osto looks at Diane like, the Marquess is inviting us on a hunt.
Yes, he is, but perhaps we should go talk with our erstwhile friend and see how he feels about such a hunt. It would not be polite of us to abandon him.
Meanwhile, I'm going to have the conversation with the huntress and Corkalek before you arrive. She says, I can remember it now. The hunting ground. It is not of this world, or not of the world of my youth, if that's the right way to characterize it. It's a place where the stars glimmer so brightly, they're like silver in the sky. And I don't think I've ever seen the sun rise on it. It's always a particular twilight. And the woods teeming with game. And there was the one that got away. And the Marquess vowed that the hunt would not end until he caught that prey. And the gods, it would seem, listened to him. And here we are.
Who is this one that he perpetually chases and seems to enlist your aid in hunting?
To be quite honest, I don't remember anymore.
What form do they take?
And she literally doesn't remember anything about it. She just knows it or them or they, whoever has always gotten away.
And so when the hunt begins, we pass through this portal.
Yes, that's right.
And what's above on the spiral staircase?
The hunting grounds, of course.
When we entered this manor, was there? I'm assuming it was a normal structure, that there wasn't.
The stairs make no sense structurally. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will, using my good arm, kind of chaperone her back to the table. Thank you for your time, and it's been a delight speaking with you.
All three of you together now.
Mm-hmm. I've got a feeling that passing through that wolf-faced portal is more than just a symbol, that there's whoever passes through that first is going to come out the other side being something quite different. And I wonder whether it might behoove us to try and slip away from this party for a moment and investigate the rest of this manor before this hunt begins.
I like that plan.
Low-key Diane's on team get the heck out of here. He was operating under the assumption that the hunt was going to be them getting hunted, and now he's not sure anymore, and he likes that even less.
And whenever the lady I was with exited the door, she turns into a wolf promptly. So I think that we are more likely to be the prey in this case, or at least one of us.
There were grim portents of the future.
Indeed. So it sounds like you're going to leave the party and go search other parts of the house?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
Good. As you are leaving, the Marquess calls out to you, "Friends, you'll know it's time to start the hunt when you hear me cry, a light, and then we shall make our way to the final moment. I do hope you'll join us. And with that, he turns. The party continues its revelry. And as you step out of the archway back into the landing, you can't hear the party anymore. And you see that body arranged in the chandelier, quite close now because it's up high and you're up in the upper level. And the head twitches and looks up at you, eyes wide in shock, guts hanging out, and it just desperately like and we'll end the session there. There's no end of session procedure. We go straight to stars and wishes. Stars are things that you enjoyed about the session. Scenes, role play, characters, whatever. Wishes are things that you hope to see next time. I will start. Stars with, I just generally enjoyed the feast scene. That was very, very fun to role play and very, very fun to interact with the characters. That was great for me. I love that. And I thought you all did a really good job of like kind of pushing and prodding at things in a way to sort of figure out what's going on there. I thought that was really good. And wishes, I don't know if you're going to go on the hunt, but I think that will be very interesting to see if you do. And yeah, and I'm also very interested to see what happens in the rest of the house as well. Like, I mean, I think that there could be more to the story in other parts of the house. Maybe you'll get some extra context, which I think could be helpful. But yeah, but in general, I think everything's going great so far. Whoever wants to go next.
Like you can't go wrong with the imagery of a ruined greenhouse, really. But the notion of three of us, one as a sort of bear-like humanoid trying to fend off a pack of wolves from this rubble greenhouse is really quite vivid. And as well, dipping a live mouse into a gravy and the tail twiddling out the mouth is ridiculous, but memorable. Wishes. I don't know, just to see the story go forward. Really, that's all.
I really enjoyed the feast and the interactions with the characters. The fortune telling was something else. I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. And for wishes, I'm looking forward to learning more about what the prey is, what's going on here. If they do join, what that means.
Yeah. Blaine, any stars or wishes?
Another star for the feasts, just like the conversation and all the moments in that were pretty brilliant. And then I do like the tarot introduction as well. That was a cool piece. Then also it was cool to see the beast bitten as a character, or the cured beast bitten as a character. It's sort of adding an interesting dynamic here with these other beast bitten, I think, too.
Yeah, it is an interesting dynamic. It seems like there's a like a tentative curiosity almost, right? About Ostro. Yeah, I agree with that. Any wishes?
Yeah, for the dice roller to treat us better.
The dice were particularly cruel in the beginning. They were just like, no, you're dead. Yeah,
those combat rolls were trying to kill.
It was like 1s and 2s and 3s, like just all the way up to that combat. So, which is why I had to make the combat kind of hard, because we were sitting on like 2 missed hunt rolls, right? So, with the devil's bargain that you were all going to be separated. So yeah, it all just kind of, it wrote itself basically, but it was it was a lot. It was good though, you survived, but definitely it felt a little touch and go for a second. I was like, ooh, like, are we about to lose character? So yeah. But anyway, that's what I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.